Every time, right? Good morning. How is
Ooh,
Good
everybody?
morning.
Good morning.
good, doing good.
Morning.
Sun is
We are
shining.
full
Yippee.
house because we have Chip back finally.
Chipster.
Finally.
Yay.
Well, I saw Sarah's doctor and had a little work done, so I had to take a little time off.
When that happens, you guys will all know it. I'll
Yeah,
take
you
some.
know
thought
it's
you were sick.
self-care, Chips. Good job, man.
Yeah, I'll be like that. What is it, the Joan Rivers, where it's all like tight? I'll be like, well, good morning. We are glad that you are with us. If you're there, give us a shout out. Let us know that you're there. And we have a special guest I want to introduce right away so that we can get into our topic. So, Nick, tell everybody about you.
So I'm Nick from Little Rock, Arkansas originally. However, I live in Fort Collins, Colorado, by way of active duty Air Force. So I joined in the Air Force a little bit over 11 years ago. Kind of like a bit of a background on my story. So I was a young kid trying to go through school, couldn't pay for it. Working my way through the bank, I was promoted a couple times from teller to banker to investment assistant in a little bit less than a year and a half.
Hmm.
And so in my
Wow.
mind, I was like, okay, you beat the system, right? If you become a financial advisor, you don't need a degree. You can make as much money as you physically can make, and the world is great. And so with that, 2008 happened. Things happen. The
Yep.
global
Yep.
recession.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got
And
us
so
all.
what happened was you had guys with, West Point degrees, Stanford degrees, 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years of experience, former managers of entire shops sitting at home and say, hey, I want to work. So how can a young kid, trying to work his way, through the bank compete
Right.
with that? And so I couldn't.
Right.
So at the time I was like, okay, if I can't do that, let me go back to school. I kind of had to bite the bullet. And so I was taking 18 hours of school.
Woo.
I literally if I wasn't in work, I was at school. I would go into my office after school. I would have my laptop in my lap, and I would work until I fell asleep. And I would wake up at like 2 o'clock in the morning with my laptop and stuff still in my lap. I would go to
Wow.
bed, get up, and go to work, and kind of do it all over again. And
So
so,
it sounds like people
Yeah,
can't.
discipline. Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, I'm impressed.
You just described my life right there.
I mean,
Oh, Chip emails.
I didn't really feel like I had a choice. I mean, during that time, minimum wage
Yep.
was like 5.25. I think I couldn't have been
Yeah.
making more than
Oh,
$12 an
wow.
hour. Trying to sustain
The
myself.
difference
So
between have to and it's like a career, right? That
Yeah.
job versus career. So,
Yeah, good point, sir.
yeah, and so with that, one of the guys that we brought on was a retired major in the Army, National Guard, and he saw that I was pretty much learning like by the trial by fire. I knew nothing. I didn't know what annuity was. I didn't know what mutual funds were. I was learning on the fly. I would get up in the morning and I would turn on this. It was like CNBC on,
Mm.
and I would just like immerse myself while I was brushing my teeth, getting ready, learning
There
the
you go.
jargon, learning the
Mm-hmm.
lingo, and etc. And so he was kind of impressed by that, and he was like, "Look, you should consider the military." And looking into it, I did it, and then it was like 11 years later because I initially thought I was gonna go in for 4, and here I
just
am. And
to get
I
so
gotcha.
kind of right, like to get the degree paid for. Is that what you were thinking?
yes, because I
Yep.
mean for me it was like I was working. I don't think in Arkansas I never not had 2 jobs, and
Mm.
so and I'm the kind of person I need to be in class. I just can't do online.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so I needed to be able to pay for it, and the military was the way for me to do it. And so here I am. Me getting into recruiting is kind of a twofold. The reason it kind of scratches that itch for me to be in sales, kind of like the entrepreneurial spirit,
Mhm.
Yep.
as well as it's my way of hopping in the DeLorean and talking to a younger version of me. Hey, you know
That's a
what?
good way of putting it.
This
Oh,
is what
yeah.
you should have done back in this day. Don't, break your back trying to go to school and work, like join the guard, do these things, save money, be smart, have fun, but don't be reckless and all this other kind of stuff. So it's my
Oh,
way of,
sounds like Marcus's word.
Yeah.
What word,
Moderation.
Sarah? What? What
Moderate.
word, Sarah? Say it.
Moderation. Yeah. Save money. Don't be reckless. Chip and I are like, what?
All those shoes.
Right.
I apparently didn't send Gru the sunglass picture then.
I
So
was gonna say,
No.
yeah, Chip
More
and I both
sunglasses.
have a shoe and a sunglass problem, so even that alone. So what? And being a recruiter now, kind of like you said, scratches kind of both of that more of that sales that you love to do, right? But then still allows you to manage. And so, did you ever think 11 years later that's where you'd be?
I did not. I did
Yeah.
not at all. I didn't even think I'd be in this country. I came back from a deployment 4.5 years into my contract, my active duty contract. And I was like, okay, I was networking while I was over there. So I was going to get out, go to school, and then try to get a job overseas. And then, ended up having my son, which is probably the greatest unplanned blessing I've ever had in my life, because it really forced me to get to this point. And, you can never keep the right thing from happening. I mean, even if you don't plan it, it's, somehow it's orchestrated. And so
Yeah.
I'm grateful for it all.
Yeah.
I like
And
that.
I was going to mention.
You can never stop the right thing from happening.
You can never keep the right thing from happening.
Yep.
I like that.
Exactly.
Great quote.
Yeah, exactly. And Nick, I wanted to say, I think back when I was younger and all of that, and man, to walk around and kind of be not sure of what you don't know can be a blessing sometimes. And I think that's part of growing up, to where we kind of grow into our skin. Sometimes the planets do line up and send us down the right lane, etc. But then what we do with that when that opportunity comes is what makes the difference. And it sounds like you certainly, took advantage of all those opportunities and challenges that came your way, which shows a lot of character on your part. So
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think an important piece is the mentorship. I mean, you mentioned you had somebody that came in and kind of guided you. So my background, very similar. I got out of high school, and mine just took me into law enforcement. So I had a mentor that got me in. And so right at 18 years old, I started my career in law enforcement. 23 years later, got in the, just retired here back in October.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. And I think it's for me,
he hasn't shaved since.
Really coming out of coming out of high school, you have no direction. And I've been in plenty of offices where I was recruiting in law enforcement or seeing you guys recruit. And I think it's very important that the youth have some kind of direction or guidance or an outlet, because many of them don't have an option or don't know there's options preceding what's happening in their school system or high school, and then what's the next step moving on.
Right.
And so always fascinated by you guys. Appreciate your service. I've had the opportunity to work along and train alongside you guys, and appreciate everything you do.
Thank you for your service as well.
Thank you.
So Nick and I met through social media. Nick has a podcast, and so we were talking about what would be a fun topic today that kind of ties in with that a little bit, because recruiting, right? You've got.
I want to fly a jet.
Yeah,
When I saw it on your page, I was like, my one dream, Nick, I'm telling you, since I was a little kid, was to get around it or in it. I know I can't fly in it, but I would love to do that.
It's a crazy experience. We have this thing called an incentive flight. So if you do a good thing, they'll kind of put your name in and they'll let you hop back seat. Yeah. And I can't describe it to anything at all.
I think I would throw up. I've been in a helicopter and a small little plane, and I don't know. I think I would pray. No Top Gun stuff where they're like flipping and.
Most people get sick of helicopters, so if you did okay in a helicopter, you might be okay.
Oh, I did okay in the helicopter. I was fine. I think I can see. I'm just not a backseat person, though. I have to be in the front so I can see.
Right.
Not like backseat. So.
You got to fly. If you're going to sit in the front, you got to fly it.
Yeah, just tell me what to do. I'll be fine. What pedal?
Right.
It's only like an $8 million machine, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. So we were talking about kind of the same thing around, recruiting, around even what we're doing. Marcus, you made a great point. You kind of move through different things. And Nick said, I can't imagine I'd see myself where I am now 11 years from now. Right. And one of the things we kind of talked about is just confidence in general, about trying new things, right? Taking those steps, going for that promotion, whatever. And so confidence in general, right, is kind of what we're talking about initially. That's always a weird subject to bring up, right? Because a lot of people think confidence, you're either born with it, you can learn it. So before we kind of go into any other thing, what do you guys think? Is confidence something that you can learn, or is it something that you're either born with or you're not?
I think it's something that you has to be instilled in you. I think it's, depending on your parents, either they consciously, spoke to you that way, and then you grow up confident, not really understanding how. But if that's not the case, I think it's something that you have to be intentional with doing.
So you do think you can learn it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's a combination of the two. Okay. With me, yeah.
And Drew, you're saying yes, you can learn it?
Absolutely, I agree with that. I think too, it's the way you're brought up, and adversities and challenges you've had to go through, but then also having been through the advanced schools I've been through. I mean, it's all teaching those things and poise and carrying yourself, and it's all little victories. So I mean, as you start
Right.
winning little battles here and there and getting things under your belt, the confidence grows and just it morphs into that. I mean, taking on challenges like we just said here. I mean, setting down my career for 23 years and jumping into healthcare 2 months ago. It's a it's a venture of a whole different lifestyle than I've ever been accustomed to. But knowing that there's transferable skill sets and people skills and managerial skills that cross over, gave me the confidence to try to take on something completely drastic and something totally new.
Okay. Chip, how about you?
I think it's learned. I think, we kind of come into this world as blank slates and, we become whatever we're meant to be. And I think that's through experiences and through life challenges and things like that, things, I think, there's quotes that talk about, it's either going to make you or break you. And so.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm kind of half and half. I'm going to be honest, you guys. I'm going to disagree a little bit because I feel like in all of my many years, because what am I, the second oldest on this podcast? Yay, Marcus, for being here and having my back on the age thing. I feel like in trying to mentor and coach and help people kind of get to a point of confidence, sometimes I feel like no matter how much mentoring you do, no matter how much, you're not going to necessarily change someone's inner voice that is either going to be okay or isn't going to be okay with confidence.
I agree.
I think you can learn parts of it. I think you can set yourself up to maybe cover a little bit or to learn how to adapt, if that makes sense at all. But I don't know. It's like charisma. We've talked about that a lot too, especially in our book study. I think you're either born with it or you're not. I think you can do things to become more charismatic, but I think that's an innate quality. I agree a little bit with what you're saying, Nick, on how you're brought up, but I've seen people that have had like really tough childhoods, no confidence instilled by their parents, in fact, anything but, and they are the most like uber confident person I've ever met. And then I've seen people who have had literally all of the benefits and of great families and being told that they're smart and they're capable, and they always second guess themselves.
Wow.
So I don't know. That nature versus nurture thing, right? I think sometimes we're hardwired a certain way. I don't know. And it's such an impactful skill. Would we not all agree?
Right.
Like everything,
definitely.
Confidence kind of precedes you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. Yeah, I'm on the fence with it too. I think that you can be taught it and also kind of have it in you, kind of thing. But the part that I find interesting is there's not one of us that walks around 100% confident all the time, right? So then when you drill down,
it's a spectrum, if you will.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So in my mind, when you drill down and kind of find the base of that, I think it depends on personality. I think it depends on environment. And I think, the different day-to-day things that we go through can either make you, break you, or break you and make you. So, I think it goes back and forth. There are days I wake up so confident, and then there's days where I'm not as confident with a certain task. But then, kind of like what Drew was saying earlier, you kind of coach your way through it and try to find a way to get through it. Or maybe Nick was saying that to where it does work, kind of the fake it till you make it kind of thing in my mind.
But I think it requires motivation. Like, I think, when you're a child, let's say, the way you're treated or the way you're raised can tear your confidence down. Yep. And you can either stay that way or you've got to be motivated to make your life different. Right. And I think we all know people who are like, oh, woe is me, I'm the victim. I'm going to stay that way because I've been torn down all my life.
Right.
Or, well, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with my life and show you
this motivation
what you've told me I am.
Well, and that's also kind of what I'm saying. I think we learn to compensate though, Chip, right? Because there are certain things I think every one of us, if you said, what are you insecure about, right? Or what are you not as confident about? Someone always has something, right? So maybe it's like if I handed Drew a mic and said, you have to sing in front of all of us. And he'd be like, I'm sorry, what? No, I can do anything else but not sing, right? But no. And someone else might be like, I don't care, I can't sing, don't care, I'll just do whatever. Like I'm still amazed sometimes that everybody thinks it's about your looks, your intelligence, your influence, right? Your monetary position. That all of that brings confidence. I just think that allows you to cover for insecurity more because people don't necessarily challenge you if you are in a high level of position or your physique, right? Like look at The Rock, right? My favorite subject. No one's going to really like, he's 6'5", and what, you're not going to walk up and be like, yeah, I think you're a baby, right? Be like, okay, because he knows he's not, right? So that's not an insecurity. But maybe if you go, I hear you struggle with depression. All of a sudden it might be, well, yeah, I mean, I've been very public about that, meaning he has been very public, right? That's something he's really insecure about. So I think we all have things for sure, but I think it is motivation, Chip. And I think it's, are you willing to put in the work to be able to deal with it, right?
That's kind of where I was getting at, was like, it's just like learning a new task. Like you just said, me singing. So of course you throw me a mic right now and I'm going to be panicked. But if I have the motivation or discipline to learn it, to get the experience and knowledge and training behind it, then I poise confidence as I come through those things. So I think that's where, for me, it's a little different. I was going to go absolutely where Chip did on what you're kind of hitting on was motivational factors to get somebody to do something. But learning to drive is learning to drive. When you get your permit, of course, you have no idea what you're doing and you're scared and you're freaked out. All of us here know how to drive and can drive one-handed and on your knees or whatever. Again, it's just the knowledge, time, and experience in that position. I think that breeds confidence, right? So that's why I think it can be taught. And like Monty said on here, his comment was that confidence comes from your success, your desire, and your environment. There are a lot of factors, but yes, he believes it can be taught and learned.
But so you're talking more about task though. So Nick, what do you think about that? Because task, yes, by experience you build that. What do you think about just in general though, like walking up and talking to strangers and recruiting? You have to do that all the time, right?
Right.
How did you build that confidence to do that?
So honestly, I used to be extremely shy growing up. I think, me being a single dad, I know this doesn't seem like it's tied in. It really forced me to, evaluate myself, be vulnerable, and kind of deal with the things that I was insecure about. And I think with that vulnerability with myself and being honest with myself, it really led to self-love. And then kind of like what Chip was talking about, it changed my perspective of what is bad and what is good. So for me, love is accepting a person for who they are, like unconditionally, like it's a commitment, it's a decision. So for me, when I started looking at myself as, okay, if I do this wrong, then that's not a totality of me. It's kind of like if I saw you make a mistake or I watched a movie, it's kind of like when you watch a movie, a trailer, right? Someone can make a mistake in 30 seconds and then it's easy for somebody to paint, 35 years of their life as just one moment. And so for me, under loving myself, I don't do that anymore. So it's kind of like what Chip was saying, it's perspective. So if I fail, then it's in my mind, it's like, well, it's curiosity as opposed to like disappointment. Okay, so what is it I learn from this? How did this happen? What did I do? Is the timing right, etc.? And then at that point, it's easy for me to be just genuinely curious in other people and talk to people and have these conversations with them because I'm not to sound arrogant, but I'm fascinated by me because I've grown so much. So it's kind of like watching the kid grow up. Like when my son was 2, he was interested in this, and 4 and 6 or whatever. So it's like I'm seeing myself evolve the same way. So I'm looking at everyone else as, okay, well, so what is your thing? So it's not really a hesitation for me to talk to somebody because I'm going to be genuinely curious as to what are your aspirations? Like, what are you passionate about? Like, this is what you want to do, but you haven't,
Genuine's a huge piece in that, right? Though, because again, if someone's fake when they're chatting with you or if they're genuinely interested in having a conversation, right?
Right.
And I think that also allows then people to, so back to Drew's point, I think respond appropriately or excited to talk to you, then that builds confidence, right? So you do it again, and then it's this.
It reinforces the behavior, yeah.
Yeah. But again, I go back to that's more of a task or behavior versus how are we in a resting state? Does that make sense? Like all of us have that, what you don't always think people think of you as your insecurity. Because again, I think you build this persona to cover insecurity, right?
Exactly.
We don't want to admit that, but I think we do, right? Like if I have that RBF face, you're not going to come and approach and talk to me. And every time someone talks to me, I'm like, wait, didn't I have that face on? Why are you here? Like what? Right? What happened? And then I always think those are super confident people because every obstacle you throw up, they're still getting through those barriers. Right.
Well, that's what I think about when you said, you want to mentor people and teach them. And I don't know that you can teach someone to be confident. And to me, if things are handed to you and things are easy, those have never built my confidence. It's through my failures and through the struggles, I think, that make you confident, because then you can look back and go, oh, I wasn't, so I'm just gonna make an example of, but I was homeless. I overcame that. Like, let's say that's your story. Well, that to me builds confidence, because you overcame something that was a struggle, and you can look back and go, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'm homeless. Okay, I've done that before. I've overcome it before. I can do that again. Versus if things are given to you or handed to you. Like, I don't know that you can teach those life experiences.
I'm a huge what's the worst thing that can happen, but then I learned, Chip, from one thing, that people who have anxiety, that is not what you say, because they're like,
well, that's just it. Like, you talk to people with anxiety and depression and stuff, and you're like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You could die. And I go, well, most of those people are going to go, oh, that would be the best thing that could happen, because then I won't be anxious and I won't be.
I'm like, wait, no,
like, that's a
worst
great
thing.
scenario.
That's kind of like
it doesn't always work. I learned on that one, but
yeah, it's kind of like rejection. For me, is like no one has ever died from a no.
Yeah, there you go.
You're gonna laugh, but like RuPaul has a really famous quote that says, "You're born naked, and the rest is drag." Because really, what the world sees of you is what you've put on yourself your entire life, and what you want them to see of you.
Absolutely.
Whether it's clothes, whether it's hair, whether it's an attitude, whether it's the car you drive, it's the house you live in. Everything you put on is what you want the world to see of you.
And honestly, that's why I disagree with all these memes going out. And Drew, you and I had this conversation. I get it, but I disagree with it. It's the new year, new me. And everyone's like, no, it's the same you. It doesn't have to be. If you choose not to be, if I went out and shaved my head and started wearing combat boots and sweatpants every single day, well, guess what? That's the new me. It wasn't yesterday, but it is today, right?
Correct.
So I don't know. And maybe if like I all of a sudden went, you know what, I'm going to sell everything and move to, I don't know, a beach in Tahiti. And I'm going to sell popsicles. That's it.
I'm going to play devil's advocate, though, because I think you can have some dramatic life shifts based on experience that would cause that. But then you have some people who every day they've reinvented themselves. And you're like, oh, who are you today? And I just don't think we all reinvent ourselves that easily every night.
Did anyone watch the football game last night?
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying I watched it.
You watched the game, Sarah?
Georgia.
The whole
Drew. She's becoming a fan, man.
No, it was an accident. But did you see Katy Perry's video?
Yes.
She looks like a totally different person.
Yes, she did. Yeah.
She just had a kid, and she looks more confident. And I mean, she does look different.
But if you watch her interviews, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be controversial, she's a terrible singer. If you watch her sing live, she needs a studio. It's atrocious.
I've never.
But you've seen a shift in her personality, because I watch American Idol since she had a baby and since she got married and stuff. You've seen a huge shift in her persona.
She looked great. I mean, I was like super. Yeah, and edgy, and I was like, wait, you're the umbrella girl?
But again, I go, those are major life experiences of what is having a baby do to your life? What is bringing a spouse into your life do to your life? Like, those are major shifts in your life environment.
Do you get forced sometimes into it? So your point, Chip, maybe you can't mentor or coach it unless someone wants it, but maybe life throws you a curve that you have to get it. So Nick, you were saying, that best gift that wasn't expected. Well, all of a sudden now you're doing things not for you anymore alone, but a situation, right? So,
and I know you're not really a reality show person, but like one of my favorite things to watch, whether it's a singing competition or a makeover show or whatever, is you see partway through sometimes like someone will go, you're beautiful, or you have confidence, or, you're attractive, or, this is a nice quality about you. And you can see kind of a light bulb turn on when someone's like, wow, no one's ever said that to me before. And to be validated and to feel that motivation, like, I think is what everybody desires. And I think for most of us, unless we're validated, that confidence doesn't even really sink in. Because successes in private, like, yeah, you might feel good about it, but you want other people to celebrate you and what you've done.
I think what you want them to celebrate is individually different.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like I want people to know how funny I am. And yet that's not the first thing anyone says. So I always get mad. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. Did you notice how funny I am? Like that is a huge, so maybe somebody wants to be known for being intelligent, or someone wants to be known for their looks, or someone wants to be known for their accomplishment or whatever, but I think it's individual. I think we assume it's physical all the time, but I don't know that it is.
I mean, kind of like what Marcus was saying earlier. I mean, you can be confident in like certain arenas and certain categories. Like so for me, like last year I did a physique competition, And I've never done anything like that. The only reason I did is because I just needed a goal. Like I'm the kind of person, like I have to work towards something in order to keep myself sane, because COVID kind of had me, going stir crazy.
Right.
I was at home with my son, days at a time. So I need like adult energy, just something to kind of ease my mind. And so my trainer, who is absolutely amazing, I mean, but it's like she loves competition and competing. Whenever she brings somebody to a show, they always win. And so for me, in my mind, she would always say, "No, you can do it. Like I believe in you." And she was so hype about it, as though I was on the stage as the final product from the beginning. But for me, kind of like what Chip was saying, like I didn't really believe it because I just didn't know. Like it was just being naive, never done anything like that. I don't know what good looks like in this arena. And then, but when I got on stage and I actually did my thing and I won a couple of awards, it was like, it validated that. Like everything that she had said up until that point was, oh wow, like I see it now. So it's kind of like, seeing is believing. And kind of like what Drew was saying before, is like you have to see yourself overcome certain things. So then you can start to have faith in yourself. Because I've seen myself overcome this. So then the next thing is not going to be so big. And it kind of snowballs.
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah,
And I
definitely.
think taking that risk, right? Whether it is, what's the worst thing that can happen if you're okay with that? If you're not, and that's not the thing to ask yourself, then okay, it's what am I going to gain from this? If I don't do it, what am I losing, right? I think in healthcare, especially, and I don't know if it's the same with, kind of the military background, we deal with a lot of people who are at end stage of life, right? And one of the things they always say is, I regretted not doing. They don't talk about regretting doing anything. Like, yeah, I did that business and it failed. They never talk about regretting that, but they talk about not the things they didn't do, right? All of the chances they didn't take, the risk, because in the end, when they're in that stage, which I think is why you say, what's the worst that can happen, right?
Yeah.
They've got such a finite amount of time left that they just want to go back and do all those things that scared them. And I think confidence and building your confidence is a big thing of realizing that most people are afraid. This is just my opinion. You guys disagree with me, but I think most people are afraid to get in the ring. And that is why you see successful people repeat success continually, because they might be afraid, but they do it anyway. They might feel insecure, but they get up and they do it anyway. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This pattern of behavior. And that's why they look like it's easy. It's not easy, but they show up. Confidence is showing up.
And I think the hard part is we always see the end result, so to your stage, right? We see you on the stage, but we didn't see your 18-week prep that went into that and all the effort you put in and all the nights and sweat and dieting and all that stuff to put you on that stage. I think that's what's hard is we all want to see that end goal, but we don't know the trials and tribulations that it took that successful person to get there. I agree. That's why I like The Rock. I mean, The Rock, he is somebody that came from nothing and built into, a powerhouse and one of the highest paid actor that we have right now. But little people don't know his background and what he came from, and starting with the $7 in his pocket, and, the NFL was his dream. And then he got hurt and then the NFL was not his dream. And he always talks about that was the best thing that never happened to him.
Exactly.
Right. It's kind of like that. I forgot the guy that owns Quicken Loans, Rocket Mortgage. He had this quote where he said, "I worked my whole life to be an overnight success."
Yeah.
There you go.
And then the other phrase that I love too, which to piggyback on that, when you think about it, there is truly no such thing as an overnight success. We see the end product, but you never see the behind the scenes. And to me, that's the most fascinating, fun part. That's what excites me about the journey of trying to reach a goal is that traveling that can occur if you allow it to.
It's interesting that you say that, Marcus, because that's where I was going. I won't say who talks about this a lot because Sarah doesn't care for her. But, they talk about fame being this like fleeting thing that's not really real for people, because we see the image that people want us to see, and we see The Rock successful, but we don't see all of the failures he had to get to where he is today. We see, famous people that way. And we think, oh, they must have the best life. Jennifer Aniston, she must just have this most golden life that's super easy. But you don't know if behind the scenes she struggles with addiction or financial issues or what her family life is like.
Exactly.
I like Jennifer Aniston. That's not her.
No, I know. I was actually talking about
I like her too.
Um,
That's why I love her about her, actually.
I just don't get all the hype about Oprah. I think she's just a regular person.
because she's charismatic and confident.
Yeah, but I just think she's just, it's not like, oh, Oprah said it. And you said, okay, well, I don't know. I don't just feel that way about Dr. Phil either, like just a person. But
he's crazy.
we were talking yesterday about failure. Becky, Sherry, and I in a meeting, actually, ironically, and I said my favorite word, which is flex or pivot, right? And it was kind of a joke. And she's like, "Oh, Sarah, you and your flex and pivot." And I said, my alternative is I just quit and I fail. As long as I keep flexing and pivoting, I didn't fail because I'm still trying, right? I'm still working toward making that goal happen. And I think that it takes confidence. You guys disagree with me here if you disagree. It takes confidence in going, I'm going to do it again. I don't know what the
heck yeah.
secret is. Like, I know I used it, but I can adjust and flex and pivot and
Heck yeah.
whatever to still try to reach that goal, right? And then I'm going to like not hit that goal again. And I'm not going to call it fail, because to me, you don't fail until you stop trying anymore.
Well, and that's just it, because do you fail, do you learn and you do it again, or do you fail and you fallen off that horse and you just lay on the ground? Like,
exactly.
Right. You know what? Forget it, right? Like, I'm done. As long as you keep trying, right? Then to me, I
and keep learning. Don't keep failing the same way.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah,
when you fail, learn something from that. So when you go to the next failure, you've learned something else, and you just keep building.
Right.
That's
yeah,
right.
I agree with that wholeheartedly too. And the other part that I can add to it, the thing that I've learned over the years now, kind of at my age, is that know when to say when, and know when to say, okay, this isn't working. I need to pivot. I need to switch my game plan. If it doesn't make sense to me, I don't do it anymore.
Well, and I think, Marcus, that's sometimes it's an age thing. Sometimes it's an opportunity thing. I have learned to fail faster, in my opinion. Like, I'm not afraid to call it and go, this isn't working and we need to pivot, versus back in the day, and Chip's known me a very long time. So Chip, you could probably say this is true. I double down. I'd be like, oh, no. I said, we're going to do this. We are going to do this, and we're going to win doing it. Right.
Yeah.
That didn't work, because then I'm like beating my head against a wall. And I learned the faster I fail and pivot, the faster I reach my end goal of success. Right. So failure to me, in fact, it was funny. I got asked to speak at a graduation, and Chip goes, "What's your topic?" And I go, "Failure." And he's like, "Wait, you're going to talk about it at a graduation?" I'm like, it's the best gift.
It.
Right.
Confidence. Because like Nick said, what's the worst thing that came out of a no? No one's ever died from a no.
Exactly.
So, okay, you know what? Maybe it hurts a little bit, and I got to adjust that person wasn't for me, or that opportunity wasn't mine. But we've all just pointed out what opportunity, what person, what event that we didn't even know was supposed to be there, like The Rock in football or whatever, is actually where we were designed to be.
Exactly.
I think a lot of that, the journey is to make you appreciate and be ready for that moment. So for me, so as I look back, is me being when I was trying to be a financial advisor, I think I was like 19, 20, 21. I was about 21 when I started. So imagine knowing me, a 23-year-old Nick with $100,000 living in Little Rock, Arkansas, I probably would have done more damage than good. Right? I mean, seriously, it's kind of like the lottery. It's kind of like the lottery effect. You take someone that's had nothing, give them millions of dollars, and then like they tear their life,
and then they're bankrupt in years.
So for me, it's kind of like, so me going through these things, and for me, it's like, it's going to make you appreciate it and make you be ready for it. It's like, if you go to the gym, you can't just throw on 315 and think you're gonna throw it up, like you're gonna hurt yourself.
I'm still working on that. Chip and I are still looking for that magic pill. Marcus can tell you, right? I'm like, this is so hard. How can I just like wake up and be that perfect child, right? But it's true, and I think it does go back to the whole piece around, and we've talked about this so much. And for me, I feel like this is more my New Year's resolution than anything else, is who's around you, who's your tribe, who's around you, because I think that is so important in your success and your growth, because there are strangers that I have met, in my opinion, that are more aligned with my success than people that I have known for 15 years that are more frenemies. And let's be honest, they exist, right? Versus someone who aligns themselves with you, because again, we have very few enemies, in my opinion, right? We have very few true friends, right? Give you a kidney, loan you money, never ask for it back, be there no matter what. We have very few enemies, and everybody else, it's either kind of acquaintance, kind of whatever. And as long as you're going in the same direction, it's all great, right? But I think we don't realign that very often, and we don't look at that of, is our group of people, or the people we're associating with, or the teams that we're building, the things that we're doing, are they building us and are we building them? Or is it really one of those things that we need to pivot from because we're not getting those things to happen? Is it someone that's really encouraging you to be better and to be more confident, take those risks, right? Those are not easy. And so when you have those rejections or you have those times, who's with you to be like, oh, you should have never done that? Well, I was thinking that was really not a smart move versus, hey, you know what? You gave it a shot and it didn't work. You want to go back and try again? Or how do we get through this? Right. It just makes a huge difference. We can get into that later because I think are you a pessimist or an optimist? I don't know. The older I get,
optimist.
I don't know that I believe in nurture as much as I used to. I don't know about you, Marcus. I believe in nature as a lot more than I used to.
Oh, heck yeah. I'm with
maybe
It's
I'm
funny you
cynical,
say that.
but I used to believe in nurture, right? Just love someone enough. Just care about him enough. Just, we'll make him okay, right?
Right. I mean, but yeah, like you were saying, like, you have to want it for yourself, though.
Yeah, right. And now I'm like,
okay.
yeah, no, you're pretty much hardwired that way, and I am not gonna keep watering a seed on cement because it's not gonna grow, right? I'm wasting my time and their time. Yeah.
Right. So Josh said,
I think you have to learn that fail early. Like, am I going to turn this giraffe into a zebra? Probably not. So, got to move on.
Hire a zebra or a giraffe or whatever you want. But don't hire the wrong thing and try to fix them because you can't. I should go on Oprah. I'll do that for Oprah. You can't fix them, sweetie.
There you go.
You can't fix them. So never
going to
happen.
Money.
Nick, we'll obviously we can post, but tell people because we're going to actually work with Nick a little bit and draw some attention to what it's because I have no idea about what you guys do. I mean, let's be honest. I always think I have to wear a uniform and I just have to follow directions and be obedient. And but it's so fascinating to me. Like Drew said, when you actually look on your page and you look at all of this stuff that you do and different things, it really is a career for a lot of people that don't know it.
It is.
And so we might do a little in-person podcast with Nick and learn some things about what his does. And it may not be the job for you. Like for me, my dad was in the Navy and I am super respectful of everything you guys have done. Never be the job for me because I am not a good follow directions girl. But
you couldn't do any of those things. You couldn't do the uniform, the follow the directions, the take orders. Like you would be like
I would be running or
the troop when you're in Troop Beverly Hills. You'd show up and your uniform's completely different.
They would have a uniform bleeding out.
I'd be like, it looks super cropped. I don't like it long. Those pants just needed a little wide ankle in the boot. If we just had a little heel, I mean, if I run, I'll take them off. But I think it's funny, Chip. Do they still make you peel potatoes and run if you're bad, if you don't follow stuff?
Peel potatoes?
Yeah, my dad.
Back when I was a kid, my dad was a cook in the Army, and he used to say if you were in trouble, you have to peel all the potatoes. It'd be like 500 pounds of potatoes for a serving.
My dad said that.
That sounds like the Army.
Actually, too.
Yeah, he was in the Army. So
they'd make you run in the rain or like run really far to wear you out. So you're just that's not true.
It depends. Depends on the branch, the unit.
He doesn't want to. He's like, I can't
command.
all of that stuff.
Air Force don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I pointed out. That sounds like the Army.
They fly.
Exactly. But my dad went Air Force. You didn't have to run and all that.
But the Air Force, at least the Air Force Academy, because I know a guy that got in trouble a lot, and he had to walk those lines.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
All the time.
It
was a punishment. Yeah, you had to just walk the lines that were in that big square. I don't know. Anyway, Chip and I would be peeling potatoes or running constantly because of our smart mouth. We would get in trouble all the time. But great. Again, not everybody needs to go to college. Not everybody knows that, the job they want to have. I think that's super important, especially today. And so, what Nick, you do in being able to really offer, not only a career path, but college, all kinds of different benefits and things like that. I mean, I think we oftentimes overlook that. And so, I think it's a great thing to bring awareness to because there are a lot of men and women that this is the perfect job, the perfect fit for.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exciting to kind of see when I sit down with somebody, you see their faces light up, and it's just, that's the one. You know what I mean? Like the younger version of me.
Well, Drew, we are all too old to join the military. So
what are the ages? Just curious. What are the
17 to 39?
Oh, 39.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, it looks like you're up to 39.
I just missed it.
See, now, okay, this shows how I am. Because I'm like, you know what? No, I want in now because you told me no. No, I don't. But I mean, I said no, so now I want in, and I'm going to show I can do it. So
I just want to get one of those planes.
I could not because I have to have my pillow with me everywhere I go. You guys travel with me all the time. You know I take my pillow everywhere. Can you imagine? I'd be like, I'm sorry, I can't go on deployment. Can I put my pillow?
I have to get you a guard pillow with the Colorado National Guard on it.
There you go.
I have the my pillow with the little tiny hunks in there, and yeah, I don't know. Then my neck would hurt, and then we'd have a whole thing.
And the drool guard, and
right. I know. So
you see her in the back of what is it? One of those C-130s, like on the cargo, but she's got all her stuff all lined up. And look at my get out of here!
They're like, who knows who Louis Vuitton luggage belongs to?
The last time I did overpack a little bit. I always overpack. Who am I?
No,
the
not
last
time. It's
Mm-hmm.
every time. You never know what the weather's going to be like. You have to be prepared. So I actually failed in the Girl Scouts because I went and I was going to join, and they told me, I think I was like 7, I had to wear a uniform, and I was like, nope, I'm out.
Well, you should went to the Girl Scouts and not the Brownies because their uniforms are worse. So.
I was not going to wear a sash. Are you kidding me? I was a tomboy girl. I'm not in a green and a skirt. Absolutely not.
If I'm wearing a sash, I better be in an evening gown and heels.
Amen. That's right. Crown right here. That's the only, right? Exactly. Or it's like when you get married, Chip, we're going to have you wear one. I'm going to plan that. So do we have any comments before we go? We are a little over, I think. I can't see without.
Yeah, just the last couple that came through was one from Josh. He just said you're the average of the 5 people you associate with the most, talking about your tribe.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and then April just said nurture is it's not always enough. Some people don't want change or work toward their own goals, so it needs more than just nurture.
Yeah,
I think it's funny a lot. I think some of us want to find a project and fix them, and other people find someone and never want that person to change, and neither is realistic because what Nick said is we always should be growing, right? No matter how old you are or what position, you always should be growing, and none of us grow like this, as friends or couples or whatever, and never think that you're going to change them if they don't want to change, no matter how confident you are or they are, right? That's not going to happen. So.
Yep, ain't happening.
Well, Nick, we look forward to next time.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Good job, Nick.
And we will see you, I guess, Thursday, because today is Tuesday. Same place, same time. So be kind, everyone. Have a good week.
See ya.